So it's no surprise to anyone who watches this channel or knows me personally, but I have a problem. The problem is I keep buying cars. Now, I live on an acre of land and I easily have the space to keep them all, but I keep buying cars that need a lot of work, and I'm a baby and I don't really want to work on them in the sun. That, and I'd like to store everything indoors and under one roof. So now we're going to turn this very serene and peaceful looking backyard into one big ass garage.
So first things first, I'm going to be totally honest and completely transparent on all the costs that went into completing this building. All the money came out of my/the bank's pocket to do the build. No one sponsored this or hooked it up or gave me any different pricing that they would have given me anyway. I paid and I'm paying for all of this work myself, so let's do some calculations.
Currently, I have 8 collector cars that need to be stored together. The Impala, the Buick, the Z, the Mini, the K-Truck, and the K-Van. And one more project car that will remain nameless for now. Let's just say it's a 50s car and it's on the bigger side. I'd also like some space to work on them. If your average one-car garage is 260-ish feet, that means at minimum I need a little bit more than 2,000 square feet just for car storage. Now, some of my cars are really tiny. I know for a fact my Mini and the Z fit together. Tight, but they fit together in a one-car garage space. The 2 K cars can probably fit in the same space also. But the 4 others are full-on, full-size cars. So what I gain in some I might lose in others. Now I could also use some storage lifts, but for now let's just do our math without it, as I want to be able to easily access each car and not have to move anything to get anything else out, or at least as little jockeying as possible. Now I also need a workshop. That area needs to be one big garage by itself. I'd like to close it in and add air conditioning, because again I'm a baby, so let's say about 400 square feet just for the workshop. I'll need to be able to drive a car into that area and work on it and then roll it back out. I'll also need some storage, but that can be accommodated with a loft area. I'll need an area to store my compressor and some tools, but most of that will probably go in the workshop area. So already I'm up to 2,400 square feet. Yes, you're right, that is insane. It's about the same size as my house. If I'm going to spend the time and money doing this, I might as well do the size that I think I actually need. Or at least, the size I want. So in looking at my property, I'd like to build something like a 40 by 60 garage. However, because my lot is what the county calls non-conforming, that makes a lot of sense, I have some unique setbacks in my land. And that's going to make it almost impossible to do a 40 by 60 building and put it in a usable location on my lot, which I think is ridiculous. I have no neighbors behind me, and I never will since it's a city canal, and there's no granted easement or utilities back there. So I should have been able to put my building on or very near the end of my lot line. However, the city says I have to stay 25 feet off the back of my property. But besides that, I want to go with a steel tube structure, and they're designed to max out at about 30 feet wide. I can go for 40, but then they have to do a bunch of re-engineering to accommodate it, and there's a big price jump to go to 40. So if I go 30, well, then I need to go 30 by 80, which is going to create a long shotgun style building. Now I don't need a crazy ceiling height, but I'm going to go with a 14-foot end wall, which is going to give me about 18 feet in the middle of the structure. My plan is to do 3 garage doors. On the east side of my building, I'm going to do a large 12 by 16 door, and then a smaller 10 by 8 door. On the west side of the building, I'm going to do a single 10 by 10 door offset to the north side. Now the great thing about this style of building is that if I decide I need to change any of these doors or configurations later, I can just remove them and replace the metal structure, which isn't actually that big of a deal. This way, if I decide I need a taller door in any area, I can just pull it out, cut the opening a little larger, and replace the door. So I did a lot of research on the contractors that installed these type of buildings in my area. A few of my friends had actually contacted them, and a couple of them had actually had the buildings built, and I went by and checked them out and saw what they looked like. I was happy with what I saw, so I contacted them myself. Now when I spoke to them, I said I don't want to be involved in the construction process, other than to just write the checks. Which, if you know me, is also very unlike me. I built the last garage at my old house myself with just my dad and my best friend. It took us like 2 weekends, and it was pretty quick and easy. But now it's about 13 years later. I'm older, and so is my dad, and so is my friend, and I really don't want to be out there killing myself. On top of that, I feel like the trades around here are unreliable at best. It's so hard to find a good concrete guy, dirt guy, tree guy. So I had my contractor handle all of that. So keep that in mind when we go over all the costs associated with building this building. Yes, I probably would have paid less if I wrangled all the best deals on my own, but I also probably would have lost time and brain cells dealing with all of these contractors. So for my project, my guy is actually Lauren at Candor Construction. Lauren's awesome. She handled all my requests and wrangled everyone as good as can be expected. She was always in communication with me as to what was going on and kept me updated anytime there was a change in a schedule. I really couldn't be more happy with them, although there still is a tree stump in my backyard, Lauren, that I'm waiting for you to come and get. So my process went something like this. I told Lauren the specs as far as size goes, and she came out to the property and made sure that we could fit it where we wanted to, and then gave me back a ballpark estimate on all of the costs. Now, when we were first talking, I was trying to get figures on a 30 by 60 building, but then I bumped it up to the 30 by 80, so it all started to escalate in costs pretty quick. But once we agreed on the size and placement, we started knocking trees down, and I turned my beautiful backyard into a battlefield. I only wish my 10-year-old self was around to play in the mud. In the meantime, the deposit was put on the building once we finalized all the specifics. Once we knocked all the trees over, we did a preliminary leveling and then had the survey company come out to do a survey and the elevations and make sure the building would be at the right height once it was placed and was within the proper allowed setbacks. If you're not familiar with setbacks, it's basically where your local government says where you can and cannot place stuff on the land you own. Once we figured out where the building was going to go, Lauren said that my pool pump was going to be a little close. It wasn't technically too close because of the survey or anything. She was just worried about knocking into it as they needed more space when they were going to create the drainage plan that would have to be done on the property. So on Friday she asked me if I could get it moved, and it was the one thing that I decided to do myself. Only because I didn't want it to hold up the rest of the construction process. So I just got out there and moved it over the weekend, and on Monday they could continue the project. Here's what was involved in moving a pool pump. The land where the building was going to go needed a lot of fill to get it to the height where the county wanted it. I believe it's like 18 inches above the crest of the main road that I live on. The survey company came out and measured a bunch of different heights throughout my property to see where the low-lying areas were. Once we got all the boundaries set where the building was going to be, we began the very long process of getting dirt. Lots and lots of dirt. Oh, and it's not just regular dirt, it's construction fill, and it's filled with big rocks that make for pads and foundations. It's not just potting soil. So it's expensive, and there's a lot of it. We'd estimated about 20 to 30 loads. Yeah, I think there were 62 loads in total, at about $300 a load, plus the cost to spread the dirt. So we're a little bit over 20K in dirt. That is ridiculous. Now, with that being said, I could have used a worse material, and I probably could have even gotten it cheaper. But again, if a problem arose later on, and I had used or contracted for subpar material, and something went wrong, well, Candor or whoever did the concrete would probably just say, well, you got bad dirt, what did you expect? So in this case, it was worth the extra expense to have Candor do it now for a little peace of mind later. Now, once all the material was spread and preliminarily leveled, the survey company came out to mark the location of the building. And every time the survey company comes out, it costs me some medium to large amount of money. Here is the first corner of the building. Next corner is right there. Right there, where that pole is. I don't know what that one is. And then the last one's right there. So we're 80 feet from that post, or that little flag, to this flag here. The survey company also creates a drainage plan as per county requirements. which is basically a berm that diverts runoff water around the building in a controlled manner. Now, Candor came out and dug the rough footer shape and put in 2x12s for the outer concrete support. This will be the final shape and the location of the building. They pre-treated for termites, which the county makes them do regardless of the fact that the building is steel, and they laid down a plastic vapor barrier. I didn't get a shot of the area, but after this step there is some metal rebar laid into the footer area to help hold it together. Now instead of a steel and rebar mesh, we went with a fibercrete. That's a fiber-infused concrete that doesn't require wire mesh underlayment. I'm sure somebody will comment below on how the metal mesh is absolutely necessary. Please feel free. I'm not a concrete expert. I can only rely on the concrete expert that I know and told me that this stuff is way better. On to concrete day. So at 6 a.m. I get up to film the concrete trucks arriving. Sorry for any grainy video, it is pitch black out. I can only get so much. Here's the time lapse. By 11 a.m. they were basically done. They had some bowing on some of the long sides, which they call blowouts, so they came back in later and cut and squared up the foundation. Then they cut the reliefs in the floor rather than doing them into the wet concrete. These reliefs will allow expansion, and hopefully when the concrete cracks, and they all eventually do, it'll be in these controlled spots only. Andy from Candor came back and smoothed out all the land and created a berm as per the drainage plan. And now the building pretty much gets ordered, delivered, and installed. This all happened really fast. They poured the concrete on the 20th, and by the 4th they were installing the building. On the 4th, 3 guys showed up with a truck and a trailer and 2,400 square feet of garage and went to town. They were finished by the 6th and the building was installed. Now, to close the permit, the survey company had to come out again and make sure that the building was in the right place. I'm curious as to what would happen if it wasn't. Then the county came out to inspect and close the permit. Before they did that, we had to have a 3x3 paver area in front of the 2 standard doors, and then some grass seed and some hay down around the drainage area. And now that's pretty much it. The building's done.
Well, the building is here, but now I gotta do all the stuff that's gonna make the building actually usable. I have to create a more drivable path in, since driving the big trucks back here has rutted the hell out of the yard. We'll lay down some millings and get them all leveled out. I'd also like to move these 2 clusia hedges. I'm gonna move this one back towards that side of the property, and this one over here to the other side of the drive. Mostly because I've closed in the backyard so much with the big building. This will open up the view from the backyard, but maintain the privacy. Before I put anything in here, I still have to coat the floors with epoxy, because everything I own leaks. I still have to insulate the building, but I'm not sure which process I'm going to choose yet to do that. When I do, I'll make an updated video. I also have to get power to the building, and I have to build the workshop/loft area. So it's not quite ready for cars yet. So here's the total breakdown of all the costs. I may have missed something here or there, but I think this is pretty much everything. At least I hope it is. So first off, site prep. This is all the preparation that needed to happen on my land to get it ready for the garage. We removed something like 7 pine trees. So the tree removal cost was $4,550. General site prep was $1,000. Delivering 54 loads of dirt was $14,850. Spreading said dirt was $3,510, and then we needed 10 extra loads of dirt, which turned out to be $2,750, and the cost to spread it was $650. Grand total for the site prep was $22,760. I'm going to try not to react to any of these numbers till the end of the video. Next is what we paid in concrete. So initially there was a $5,760 deposit for the concrete. Once Candor came out and put the boards down to form the foundation, there was another $5,760 due. And then on mobilization of the trucks that day, there was another $5,760 due. So the concrete itself cost somewhere around $17,000. Now there was an additional charge of $1,900 the day of the actual pour, and for my property we needed a pumping truck which cost another $1,500 for the day. There was also a cost adjustment of $1,400. Now this is because supplies had gone up in cost between the time that we actually started the project and actually did the concrete. So the concrete total was $19,110. Now the permits themselves cost about $1,000, give or take. And then to have Lauren and the construction company do all the permit running themselves cost another $1,000. That's one spot where I could have done all the permit work and saved myself that $1,000, but that would have locked up my time running back and forth to the permit office. So the permits totaled $2,016.22. Now the surveys ran about $2,600 total. This included the stakeout survey, which was $300, the form board survey, which was another $300, the compaction survey, which was also $300, the drainage plan, which was $700, the boundary survey, which was $600, and then a permit package for $450. I don't know what was in that package, but I paid for it. Now the cost of the building actually wasn't that outrageous. The initial deposit was $5,869. Then I made 2 payments of $18,865. The first one was when they actually sent the guys to come bring the building to my house, and the second one was made 3 days later when they completed the project. So the grand total on the building was $43,658. So according to my numbers, as of right now, I've paid $97,586.80. And that's a lot of money. Now, 13 or 15 years ago, whenever I built my old building, it was about $27,000. But it was only a 26 by 26 building. It came out to be about 675 square feet, give or take. So now, all these years later, I went with almost 4 times the size building, and it cost me less than 4 times the cost. So with the fact that all construction costs are just out of control right now, it really wasn't that bad. So how did I pay for it? Well, we took out a home equity line on the house. Property values around here have doubled since I bought my house in 2017. Property values keep soaring around here, and now that I've added this much square footage to my house, even though it's going to increase my insurance and my property taxes, this area is in demand for people that want to run their own businesses out of their house. So when I eventually sell the house, I've probably at least tripled the value of my property. So did I make a good decision or not? Well, time will tell, but it doesn't matter. I needed the space, and now I have it. Now I just have to get all the rest of the stuff done to make it usable. So after all this, I'm pretty sufficiently broke, so feel free to like and subscribe, and share this video with all your friends, and keep it on loop in the background. And if you want to buy some t-shirts, I have a website link below, and I also sell my paintings on slushbox.com. I'll also be accepting requests for black market organ sales, or just come and get tattooed. Oh, also, I'm going to be traveling to Japan soon, and I'm going to stop by the dealership that I bought one of my K-trucks from, so look out for that video too. In the meantime, thanks again, like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.